Hi, my name's Mark, one of the pastors here at Trillium. Have you ever sensed a presence in your life that really isn't physical, that kind of around you or maybe even in you, in your mind, in your room, a sense of presence? Sometimes it's called the third man or the third man syndrome factor. And it refers to Ernest Shackleton's experience with a couple of his buddies crossing the South Georgia Island through glaciers and mountains that had been never traversed before. They'd been on this really horrendous journey into the Antarctica. They'd had to scramble from their sinking boat to a row on their rowboats 300 miles to Elephant Island. And then 6 of them got in one rowboat and they rowed to South Georgia Island, 720 miles over 2 weeks in the most horrendous conditions to get to a whaling station for rescue purposes. And on that final step of the journey, these 3 guys are crossing over South Georgia Island, and they sensed the presence of another, of a fourth presence, a spiritual presence, one that they couldn't really grapple with, but always was with them and brought them reassurance, guidance, even direction. And it's been called the third man because of a poem that T.S. Eliot wrote about Shackleton's experience. He says this in Wasteland: "Who is the third who walks always beside you? When I count, there are only you and I together. But when I look ahead up the white road, there is always another walking beside you, gliding wrapped in a brown mantle, hooded. I do not know whether man or a woman, but who is that on the other side of you?" And when Shackleton wrote about this in his book South, he got a lot of responses from a lot of people who had been adventurers, explorers, mountain climbers, athletes, and a host of other people had had this experience of a sense presence. Sometimes it's seen, sometimes it's not. Sometimes it speaks, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it guides, sometimes it's just this sense of peaceful presence that walks beside one, a companion through difficult circumstances. Now, we looked at the story of Peter. He's in jail. He's been arrested by Herod Agrippa. We looked at the story last week. He's in jail. He's going to go to trial the next day. It's likely he's going to be executed by Herod Agrippa, the grandson of Herod the Great, just like James, one of the other apostles, was executed just days earlier. And the early church is praying for him, and all of a sudden, the third man shows up in his cell. It's called an angel, but what is an angel but the third man presence, a sense presence in the cell? And the angel is beneficent or a blessing to Peter because it has light and extends and pushes back the darkness that's in the cell. And then miracles start taking place. Chains fall off. Peter's guided past guards. The iron gate doors opened up. Peter finds himself out on the street. And then all of a sudden, the sense presence disappears because Peter's now in safety, relative safety. He's escaped his prison. And it got me thinking about the fact that I wonder how many of you who are listening to this, and I was asking the congregation, how many of you have ever had a sense presence or experienced the third man with you in a tough place? Or maybe not even a tough place, just had that third man presence in your life, a guide, a friend, a companion that doesn't really fit into this world's order. And how many third men have been beside us? How many angels or other spiritual entities have walked beside us that we just weren't aware of or oblivious to because of our own belief patterns that doesn't even allow for that possibility? I mean, Shackleton didn't like to talk about it because he wasn't willing to risk something that was so numinous and so wonderful being made fun of. And so many people have had these experiences don't talk about it because they're afraid the world will take something that's almost sacred to them and make a mockery of it. Scientists have tried to duplicate these kinds of experiences in laboratories to no success. There really isn't any scientific rationalistic explanation for what's happening here. But in spiritual terms, it is a fulfillment of the promise that's been given to us in Jesus that we are always accompanied in life. That no matter where you go, what you're up to, you're always in the presence of another reality. We think that in some sense, these sense presences, which are always beneficent and blessing to people, are an extension of God's love to us. They come in very unique ways, but their source is one source, which is God's love, God's pure love. You're going to be, at some point, maybe on an adventure. You might be an adventure in your health. You might be an adventure in a relationship or move or something like that. And you're going to be stretched thin. And in that moment, I pray you'll open your heart and your eyes and see what is going around you. You may notice that you do not walk alone in that hard place.